Hi and welcome to Drum Leveler, a brand new take on dynamics processing from Sound Radix. In this tutorial we'll have a look at some of the features and controls of the Drum Leveler. First of all, on the left hand side we have our input controls. Link together or click the link button so these can be operated manually. On the right hand side, of course, we have our outputs, and again these can be unlinked or linked for stereo or mono operation. Along the top we have our process indicators, meaning dual mono, stereo or MS mid-side. In dual mono mode we get a really nice indication on the graphic. When I choose left, I can see the right hand side kind of shaded on the right hand side behind, and right, the graphic switches over really neatly. Back to the left and sum them together. And for the tutorial we'll use stereo mode. But it's worth knowing that in MS mode we get a mid and sides control, or a mid and sides view. And one of my favourite little features, when you click on the Sound Radix logo, it puts the entire unit into bypass. And in the centre we have the A and B copy function, so we can have two different settings set up and flick between them. Along the bottom of the drum leveler is the Sidechain Filter, allowing us to really hone in on the frequency we want to include in the drum level process or exclude. Zoom in a little bit. If I want to listen to the frequencies I'm working on, hit the solo button. So those are the inclusive and the exclusive frequencies. And we'll open that one back up again. In the center of the plugin are the 5 main control knobs. Now the first one, minimum re-trigger. One of the things we've been saying about Drum Leveler that makes it so incredible is it treats every single transient or drum hit as an individual process. Now, minimum re-trigger allows us to bypass that, so if we've got 2 short kick drum notes or 2 short beats, we can tie those together in one process. The gain range knob allows us to determine exactly how much of the process we're adding into the signal. In this case it's calibrated in dB, so we're adding about 34 dB of the process into the signal. The main control in the center here is compression. Now, of course, this is exactly how much of the compression effect we're using. And if we go the other way, down into minus values, of course, it becomes an expander. Compression to the right generally, and then expansion all the way far over to the left. So the hold and recovery settings are a bit like the sustain and release of a synthesizer. Hold being how long the process is held for, and recovery how long it takes to get back to zero. The 3 main controls in the center graphic are the target level, the low threshold, and the high threshold. Now these are how we set up exactly how much of the process will happen to what range of the original signal. So if I keep these 2 close together, it's a very minimal range. By dragging it down, you'll see that more of the waveform goes orange, indicating that more of the waveform will be affected. If I drag this down, less of the waveform is actually becoming affected by the process. And the target level setting is exactly how much cut or boost we want to happen to that process signal. So by setting the high and low thresholds close together, I can set up the process to only trigger on the kick drum. And then I can change the level of the kick drum with the target level. So in this case, we've used the high threshold and the low threshold to hone in on our target, and we're changing the level of the target with the target level. Now you can see at the moment, the process is only going to affect the kick drum because it's only the kick drum transients that are being processed. If I push the high threshold up, it's affecting the snare drum and the kick drum. So now as I pull my target level down, you can hear we're bringing down the snare drum and the kick drum. I just tune it so I miss the snare drum. I'm now only affecting the kick drum. Bit of tweaking there. And if I want to, of course, I can bring the kick drum level up or down. Make my hold a little bit bigger, bring the recovery time right out. Now it's affecting the transients of the instruments, so we can actually hear how that snare drum's really being opened up. Much longer decay time on it. Now I've honed it to the point where I'm just working on the snare drum. And by changing the recovery time, I can change that transient and the decay of the snare drum. They're nearly removing the snare drum from the loop entirely. So no longer are you tied to the mix that was set up when the loop was created. You can get in transient by transient, hit by hit if you want to, even instrument by instrument, and change the level and the compression and the release of those sounds. Hopefully you enjoyed that look at SoundRadix Drum Leveler. For the demo, go to www.soundradix.com.